What's up, everybody? This is going to be a pretty hefty little video. It's going to be concerning quite a bit of information, stuff about HR1, stuff like, uh, the the bill, the COVID relief bill, just like specific things and what what the big deals are about the things and kind of almost at this point it doesn't matter what party you're on or you know what you're trying to represent. It's just about reality. you know I mean, I'm pretty unbiased. I've always called it how I've seen it. I think I've stayed true to myself and the information that I've collected in my research. um, but it's really important at this point in juncture for us to be honest with ourselves, okay? Because not one man is going to save this country. It's not going to happen until we can get some representatives in there that really aren't focused on attributes or parties or agendas. So, because the end game, well, you know what? Let me start off with a little light joke, and this is going to explain everything, and I'm going to take you through to it. So the joke goes like this, and I made this up. I think I made it up. I've never heard it before. So this guy's on a plane over the ocean. Plane crashes. Man survives. He's the only guy that survives out of the plane crash, right? He sees an island. He's been floating for like 2 days. He sees an island. Gets up onto the island. And he's looking around. And he sees another guy. He's like a tribal guy. So the guy comes up to him. And he's like, "What are you doing on my island?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, a plane came and crashed." And the guy kind of looked him over because he was kind of dressed peculiar. The other guy, had like the grass skirt and kind of real tribal. And, he was eating a banana. And the guy that fell from the plane was like, "Oh my God, dude, could I have a banana?" He's like, "Last one." He's like, "Man, I'm starving, man. I've been floating on the water for like I don't even know how long. I'm so lucky to even be alive. I'm really hungry. Do you have any other food?" He says, "Last one." He's like, "Is there anything I can do?" He goes, "Well, what will you give me?" Well, the guy fills his back pocket, and his wallet's still there. So he opens up his wallet. There's $100 bill. He pulls out the $100 bill, looks at the $100 bill, looks at the banana, and kind of thinks to himself and says out loud, "I don't think I would ever pay $100 for a damn banana." So he didn't. He put the money back into his wallet, right? Put it there, and he fell asleep that night. And this is after he tried to beg and plead with the guy. He's like, "No, you must have something for me." And he's like, "I really don't have anything. I just, all my stuff was on the plane. All I have is the clothes on my back." So he falls asleep. He dies in his sleep from starvation. Probably if he would have ate that banana, he might have actually lived. So the tribal guy is looking at him and is like, So he goes to move him, and he picks up his wallet, takes the dollar bill out, eats the banana, takes a shit, and wipes his ass with the $100 bill. You could probably tell it a little bit better than me, but that's the joke. And the moral of the story is that you wouldn't pay $100 for a banana, but how much was that $100 worth in reality? How much was that $100 worth in reality? If you take all of the situations of finance, what is the real value and worth and objectivity of that cotton paper blend that you have that has print on it saying that it's money? Pretty much good for wiping your ass, because it is not it's not a note anymore. There's nothing backing it. It's not from the gold standard. You have got to completely understand that aspect of the current financial system that we are using in order to really dissect this. Because especially when we're talking about this debt that we just took on, this 1.9, after we have already had this relief, and what we are utilizing that debt for, because it's not for me. I mean, that debt, it's not for you, but it's for our kids. You understand, right? You understand what the unbalance of a financial system creates? We're going to look at that. And we're going to look at a lot of the decisions that have been made that are bringing us to a very, very big depression. Not the great one, but the end depression. I mean, just think about that joke for a minute, because it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of sad. Because the dude would have lived if he would have just, I mean, what was he going to hold on for that money for? We're here in life to provide, yes, and money allows us to do that. But at the same time, money can also be a downfall, especially when it holds no value. Have you ever heard the term, well, that money isn't even worth the paper it's printed on? Well, it's not. Think about it. If you're in a situation and you have nothing, and you're someplace that doesn't give a shit about what you have in your wallet, they don't use that currency, you could have $7 million in cash. Then somebody else, that's just like toilet paper. Look, we've got to look at this stuff, man. If you want to know what's up, I'll tell you a lot of different stuff. And you know, I don't get fact checked on my stuff because I fact checked my stuff. You don't see little stuff that says, "Oh, well, that's partially true." No, they ain't gonna do that to me because I'm trying to educate you and inform you. And some of you are stupid and you have your head wedged up your ass. I've made videos upon videos, and I see you guys. It's just like a proud moment that you guys are just so intoxicated with what? I don't know. You can't be proud of the president right now, the current president. There's no way you can be proud of Biden. You can't say that he's done a wonderful job. Tell me what he has done that's so fantastic. Just one thing. He doesn't get rid of the kids in the cages y'all were bitching about. No, didn't do that. He didn't really propel COVID processing any quicker. I mean, that was already started up, right? What has he done? And I mean, really, if the only thing that you can cling to is, well, you got rid of all that shit that Trump did. If that's the best that you got, that's why you hired the dude. And here's the thing. Could you sit down with me and tell me the policies? Can you tell me exactly what he switched around? Can you tell me, can you go into detail? Are you aware of even how it was previously on everything? Are you even aware about HR 1? Are you aware what entails in the COVID plan? Do you know that it sets every single individual person within America $409,000 into debt right now? You owe $409,000 is what the government's utilizing it on. How's that going to work? Well, let's talk about HR 1. Look, there's a reason why there's two parties and the system is mixed and with different parties and stuff of this nature. Because whenever there is one rule, doesn't matter what party it is. Well, I'm trying to tell you that it doesn't really matter what party it is. If one party has more power or more say, it becomes an abuse point. I mean, you had this with neither one of these things that were passed through were bipartisan, and they are fighting like hell to get that $15. And I'm going to tell you, if you think you're going to get $15 an hour and it's going to be wonderful, You're wrong. You're wrong. Right now, just right now at this current time, prices on gas, prices on everything are going up. Things are harder to obtain. There's shortages. Do you know why that is? The reason why is the offset and change. Now listen, if there's people that are coming in from an oppressive country, from a dictatorship, I think that we should assist and try to do something to intervene. I'm going to explain to you how Biden is jacking stuff up, okay? And if you don't like what I'm saying, I'm sorry that you don't like it. I would have been proud to say, man, he's got in there and he's really done a lot of good, and we were wrong. Everybody that didn't want him to be in office was wrong. I can't say that and be with an honest face. You do realize that the children that you were bitching about being in cages is over capacity? And that's after they built some more, right? Are you aware of that? No. Okay. Do you know that if these people are so horribly off and can't, I mean, oppression, and they're seeking asylum, I need you to comprehend something for me. When you go to the store in Mexico and you want to go and you buy some Tommy Hilfiger, you're not going to pay an inexpensive amount. It's an absorbent price for those materials. Okay? And here's another thing. This picture that has unifying shirts that have been printed. They're all matching shirts. They've been printed professionally on a shirt about Biden. Help us. Okay. This does not come about by free. This is organization. This is planned, right? And why would these people do that unless they were under the understanding of that? And if you're saying, before you open your stupid mouth and tell me, well, they probably gave them those at the border so they would have nice clothes. So you're telling me that the administration gave them those shirts? I don't know which one's worse. Think about it. If I'm the president, I'm going to give you a shirt that says, hey, it's a photo op? Are you kidding me? That's the tragedy and that's the tormented people, and they're being put on a picture as a presentation, as a photo op? Which one is worse? The lie of it being a photo op, or the lie of it? I mean, they're not that bad off. There is a process, there's a screening process, and it's necessary. Okay? There are people that previously have gone through extensive amounts to dedicate their life and their futures to becoming American citizens. And they've proven that they wanted to do that. I have friends that have gone through this process, and I think it's a pretty big slap in the face to just open up the doors. So my suggestion, if you are really concerned and you are really for this, you need to open your home up. There are children in cages that you hate. Open your home up. Become a volunteer. Become a foster. Until you are willing to do that, are capable of doing that, you really shouldn't get involved in it. Okay? How about all the COVID cases that have been checked and proceeded and released? When I talk to you and I tell you about this stuff, it's like they're moving them like cattle. This administration, they're moving them like cattle. They've got the children in cages because supposedly, they came by themselves, and then the adults are checked, screened, given COVID tests. Then they're given, They're positive and they're catch and release to spread. So all those people that are bitching about, oh, why couldn't Texas wait? Oh, Texas is going to find out. The nation's going to find out. Because if Texas finds out, it's going to spread. Yeah. This is, if you don't have the foresight and the knowledge and the keenness to step back from this mosaic and look at it as a full picture with unbiased and clear minded and not see all of these things that are attributing for certain goals, then you, my friend, live in bliss. And I wish I could live there. But, and I mean, I've popped my head up every once in a while. And I mean, I'm not political, but this is very forceful. And I don't know how anybody could not see it. You know, I guess, you know, the left says that the right's got conspiracies and whatnot. But it's all hearsay because the left doesn't present any real information. Well, Trump is evil. Trump is that. Trump is that. Well, I mean, because he doesn't think like you, or because he does things how you wouldn't do it. Let me tell you something. He doesn't do things that I would do. I don't stay up on Twitter all the time and make an ass out of myself, but he did do good things. Okay, you might not like his egotism, and I've said this a million times, dude. That's my stance on him. He's just, but Biden's not even present as a president. And I think you need to be present as a president. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? That's why it's called president. I'm just kidding. But that was funny. Dude, he hasn't even had a press meeting. And you know what? It's time to move on from all this Trump shit and all everybody pointing fingers at Trump. Still? Come on, man. What have you done? You've passed a bill. Okay, so you passed a bill to help out a little bit. Where does the rest of that money go to? Where does it go to? Can anybody tell me the breakdown on that? Has anybody read it? Has anybody looked into it? Or does everybody just think, oh, hey, we're going to get free money and all this? It's going to be great. It's going to be great till you have to rely on that because you can't afford to buy anything when they raise that $15 an hour. Let me explain something. So back in the day, minimum wage was lower than it is now. Let's say, I don't even know what the last, it was like 5 something or something like that. They raised it up to. We're talking about going double on it right now because like 7 something. So you want to double it to 15, right? That sounds really good. That sounds awesome, right? Let me ask you this. Have your grandparents ever told you what the price of bread was when they were young? Or a gallon of gas when they were young? Have you ever, anybody from like, oh, I remember back when gas was, I remember when gas was 75 cents a gallon. My grandmother used to tell me that she remembers when bread was like a nickel, and then it went to a dime, and it went up and up. Well, what caused that? Inflation. What causes inflation? Oh, well, I'll explain it to you. When you hike up the wages, employers, manufacturers, people that are paying people to work for them, they have to pay that. And they raise the prices up to balance it all out. So reality, right? Bread doesn't cost a nickel or 50 cents or a dime anymore. It's like $3 now, $2. Why is that? Oh, because we get more money. Look, you're going to have a cap off. And you might live great for a little short bit of time. But at the end of the day, it's just going to balance itself out. It's going to balance itself out. It would be more beneficial if that bread was still, 5, 10 cents a loaf. Use your head. Inflation keeps occurring. And the only reason why it keeps occurring is the cost of living. It's basic fiscal information. Fiscals, financial information, balancing. You can't just think and hear $15 an hour and be like, $15 an hour, this is going to be blah, 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 blah. Man, I could live good like that. No, you can't. It will be very short lived. And if you haven't noticed already, prices on stuff is going up, and it will continue to go up. You'll see. I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's going to go so far to where, you know, that paper we were talking about that ain't worth anything in your back pocket, except for whatever it is, toilet paper, you know? Well, it's going to become a reality. It's going to transfer completely. You really need to be educated on how the monetary system works. You need to understand what Federal Reserve is. You need to understand what central bank is. You need to understand. You need to understand this stuff. And then you can step back from the mosaic and say, wow, okay, wow. You need to know what happened on Jekyll Island. You need to understand. I'm not telling you that it's a conspiracy, because it's not a conspiracy, my friend. Look it up. Instead of worrying about that other shit and trying to fucking one up on Trump, sit your fucking ass down after you get your head out of it, preferably, so you don't suffocate, and look up Jekyll Island and all those terms that I just threw out. Look it up. Your children's future relies on it, not yours, because you don't care about it. If you're not willing to invest a little time and investigate certain things, whether to either prove it or to disprove it, I mean, concerning your children's future, you know what? Please don't. You probably get deleted from anything I have you on. I'm just saying, this is important stuff. And I would never, and you know what? If you can disprove what I'm saying, then fantastic, let me know so I can stop. Because it's not my intention to mislead or, guide somebody down a path of, that's unfruitful, or be untruthful with anybody. This is all factual stuff. And if you add this all up, and it adds up to nonsense, you have to start questioning, what's the end game? Why? You know that you've got to have a mindset of a police detective. You have to have a mindset of somebody who's been wronged and trying to figure out where you left your keys, because you got to do something. You have to have a mindset of inquiring, trying to figure out. I mean, not necessarily down the all avenues, but you should definitely know about what the monetary system is within our U.S. Treasury and all that. You should know some of that stuff. You should know if there are people who are governing our United States and they are combating against certain bills, you need to look at that and find out why. Because if there are people up in our government that are fighting, they're fighting for us. Don't you want to know what they're fighting for? So if they're just trying to revert stuff back to when Trump was there, I mean, don't you want to know what's going to replace it or how's it going to be amended? Don't you want to know? Or do you just think that all Republicans are sticking together and they're just stupid and they're just, why they got Trump's back, we don't know? Or do you think that everybody's like Trump, right? You're brainwashed and all this shit, right? Is that what you think? Or do you actually think that there are actually people that are senators and people that are in government that actually have the country and its people and their ideas, and they think that it's worth fighting for? I know you got a mixed bag on both sides that are good and they're bad, or they're greedy and they're not greedy. But you really need to, that's a red flag, man. Like, I'm just saying, if you get pulled over and the cop comes up to the window, let me see your ID. And then the cop comes back up there and another cop comes around from the side and they're just sitting there kind of discussing stuff. and they're just like, well, this and that, and you're just kind of like wondering, do you listen in to try to figure out what they're talking about, and then one of them has points on this, and then the other one, don't you want to interject and be a part of it to try to figure out, hey, man, one of them's trying to send you to jail, and one of them's trying to argue that why you shouldn't. I'll bet you get involved. Why aren't you getting involved in this information? It's free. It's free. You can't always rely on all news sources either. And I'm going to tell you one of the best ways to get accurate information. One of the best ways that I found is don't look information up or trust news sources within the United States. It's pretty damn simple. Don't listen to CNN. Don't listen to Fox. Don't listen to anything. If you want to check the Daily Mail, there's plenty of stuff that reports on the U.S. You'll get a lot more facts and a lot different perspectives and a lot of more accurate and less biased information that way. Because in America, there's potentially something to gain, or somebody has a bias to either side. Obviously, Fox is by itself pretty much, except for like these Newsmax and one-offs and stuff like that. And then the other side of the media, very rarely will they. But what's funny is like CNN and all the rest of them, they let Cuomo go on blast, right? Whoops. What do you mean he wasn't perfect? Like y'all was talking about the golden boy? The gold standard? Is that what we call it? Don't know about the gold standard. That's funny. Thought we just had a reserve note. See, if you catch up to this knowledge, you'll know what I'm talking about. And what's up now, Biden? Biden just don't even want to show his face. Sleeping. I mean, he can win to answer no questions. He can't even hardly stay awake. Can't even talk through the damn thing. I mean, he had one good day of talking in his campaign, and the rest of it he's been hiding Biden. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. One thing about Trump is he might got up on Twitter, whatever it is, and made a butt out of himself sometimes. But at least you knew what he was doing. At least you knew he was there. Love him or hate him, or indifferent. I mean, you could always know that he was going to be participating in current events. Joe Biden, what have they done? And you want to talk about somebody or a party that is drunk with power? Dude, I remember whenever it was like the big debate, right? Trump is just changing so much stuff. He's doing these executive orders. Well, you know who's done the most ever? Yeah, that's right, Biden. And it's not just to revert Trump stuff. It is not just to be helpful. Now, I could pick apart these bills, and I could probably put the good things, maybe a couple of things in here and there. The rest of it is banal nonsense. Just doesn't need to be done. We're going to tackle HR 1 first. Let's talk about HR 1. Let's talk about it. There's a fantastic, wonderful portion of that allows felons to vote. I believe if you're an American citizen and you did something wrong, you should still have a say in what goes on politically in this government, because you're still paying taxes. You're still a citizen. Because you did something that might have been a mistake, or you made a misjudgment, whatever, you should still have that right. It should not be removed from you. Okay? And I think that's a wonderful addition. Unfortunately, they're doing it on a twist of, that's how many black people are being suppressed, which is a racist comment from the Democrats. Basically, they're saying that there's more, black criminals there's more black felons. Okay, but I regardless, that's probably the most positive thing that's going to come out of that, because just because somebody has something of a criminal record, I mean, because crime is everybody does a crime, and the only thing that really makes it illegal is when you get caught. Somebody's speeding or something, running red light or doing something stupid, especially when you're young. Your life is, you make mistakes. I'm not talking about like murder and premeditated and all that nonsense. So let me get clear on that before I get some kind of backlash. I'm expecting people with common sense to listen to this, but that's a wonderful thing. But it's a wonderful thing within itself, but not for the purpose of what they were driving it for. Okay, because it's pretty racist when you hear it in that aspect, in my opinion. But HR 1 also strips away the necessity to have voter ID cards. Any kind of not fact checking, but accuracy checks, stuff like that. So it's a lot more looser. So it doesn't have to be, the time constraints. It doesn't have to be, there's no real, follow through with it. It's really funny. And this even goes back to, immigration and everything. They want everything to be so slacky daisy, right? Everything, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later. Voter registration, ID cards, that's really not important. Well, why is it so important on guns? Why is that? Isn't that peculiar? Isn't that weird? And I know somebody's in the background. You chattering their teeth already. Well, people are violent. People get shot. They kill people. And Republicans like to bear arms. And you got to be careful because there's a lot of crazy people out there. Okay, so you don't think that anybody crazy could cross the border? That's interesting. What's the difference? Because whenever you are putting a screening on somebody to enter the country, it's the same thing as a background check on a gun. You're making sure that it's in the betterment or in the best interest of both parties to have a gun, number one, and then you're also judging whether it's good or bad situation for other people. It's common sense. I don't understand how you can flip-flop and variate on that premise. What I just told you is common sense. And not only is it common sense, but it's a violation of the Constitution to omit having a firearm if you qualify. Okay? I don't think that people that have a record and history of having violent, violent aptitudes should have a gun. If you have no self-control, you shouldn't have a gun. And if you have violent tendencies, you probably shouldn't be granted amnesty to this country. Right? Is that a fair thing to say? Do you want a mass murder at the border being like, hey, let's do this. We'll get up in this. No. Do I want somebody that is a mass murderer having a gun? Duh. No. Why does nobody catch that correlation? It's just common sense. It's sad. You have a very hard line on that left and right now. And I'm telling you, it don't matter the party, bro. Y'all need to get your mind right. Have people seeing on social media, oh, I got my chip, I got my vaccination, and the conspiracy theories. It's not a conspiracy theory. I got no conspiracies for you. And if you want to talk about a conspiracy, I can give you one. And I'll just drop a little bitty. Yeah. You ever notice how, Meghan Markle and whatever her name is, and Prince, the guy over there that they came from England, they're in the news a lot lately. What's even weirder is when did they arrive to America? Huh? Why are they the center of attention right now? You know what? That is a conspiracy. And I apologize because I'm not doing that on this one. I'm giving you the facts and trying to correlate things in a common sense way. It's just kind of like how I do all the time. But because it's hard to hear when you have two pair of butt cheeks in your ear. It's another head up your ass reference. So you have HR 1 trying to simplify, not make it so restrictive and restrained on voting. That's kind of weird, because if they're saying that there was no mail fraud, there was no tampering or anything, what's the problem? Well, Trump was the one that was complaining about it. So wait, you're going to tell me that he was being restrictive and putting down the voting base for Democrats and targeting? No, I don't think so. I don't think that you are restricting a voter base by enforcing laws. The other thing that HR 1 is going to do is going to eliminate the ability of state officials and state government that is ran by the state to do their operations the way that they do it for voting. It will no longer be that way. It will be done unisonly. It will be done in unison by the federal government. Right? What could go wrong? I mean, especially if it's just one party doing it. I mean, do you not understand? Do you not understand the perils that are going to be happening? You've seen the numbers on as far as finances. It's not going to last forever. This debt is going to continue on. And like I said, if it goes to 15 an hour, it might be good for, I don't know what, a year or two? You've got to look at history. You've got to look at motivations. You've got to follow the money, because you have a lot of people that are safeguarding their own jobs and their own finances and their own power. And they've been doing it for a long time. Because look at what HR 1 is going to be doing in California. I don't have time to sit here and make video after video after video. But you need to understand that within these two bills alone, and the immigration bill, I mean, in the COVID bill, there's so much stuff that isn't even related to helping people. And here's another thing, 1.9 trillion. When we're at the tail end of this, and they've already said that once you get vaccinated, you should be good to hang out. I mean, we are at a point now where we are starting to, on a mass level, and there's even another 100 million coming out after the completion of what is necessary to vaccinate America. We are going to have a plethora of penicillin, not penicillin, you know what I'm saying, it's a joke. But we're going to have so much. I mean, it has a 94% efficacy rate. This is science, y'all. Y'all want to follow the science, but y'all don't like using common sense with science. Do you understand that? You can have science, but you can also use it with common sense. I mean, yeah, you can break it all down, but you've got to get your fingers out of your ear, and you've got to pay attention to what's important to economy. And this has nothing to do with any race. It doesn't have anything to do with Democrat or Republican. It has to do with you and your family. What don't you get about that? Do you understand that right now we're kind of in a unemployment is at a spike and we're getting COVID relief, yet we're allowing people to come into the country right at this point, and there's no job market that's being allowed to be open and present and flooded. I mean, Texas opened up, so I mean, we got them. I mean, we can take it. We can do that because that's how we are in Texas. We like to work. You know, we that's what we do. I mean, that's just how. I mean, I don't know what it is, but most people I know, and the way that I grew up is like, you know, you go to work, you gotta do something. I mean, it's just it's I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those things. It's like you got this big thing. The teacher calls you in. And is like, hey, there's a flu bug going around the school. You don't really pay that much of mind because either you get it or you don't. If you get it, you take a time out. You treat it. Then you get back to it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have been out of work for a long time. There's not a lot of jobs available across the country. And the numbers that are being admitted, it's not a good mix. I mean, like I said, if these people weren't wearing polo association shirts and having like Biden shirts that were, obviously printed together for some reason, I mean, it really doesn't show me hardship. Okay? It does show me somebody that wants to look nice and be presentable to, accommodate a position here within America. And that's a great thing. And those people that do want to have, I wouldn't really want to say pride, but the initiative and the striving for, a better life for them and their family, they should get that, because that is what life is about. And that's what I'm trying to tell to everybody that's watching this. It is not a Republican. It's not it's not this or that. It's common sense. It's science. And what's best for every person and their family. You've got people sitting here bickering and arguing about the stupidest stuff. Look, let's look at it. Let's say this. And there's some good stuff, but there's some really bad stuff. I guess what you would say is you can't have a perfect thing. And I think that's horseshit. And you could say that you don't like guns because it kills people. Well, guess what, sweetie? You know what else kills people? Hands kill people. Cars kill people. Knives kill people. If somebody wants somebody dead bad enough, pillowcases kill people. 2x4s kill people. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that a gun, a firearm, can put far too much power into a person that doesn't know how to manage it. It could put too much power in somebody's hand. I'll be the first person to admit that. But if somebody really wants to, they will get it done. They don't. I mean, do you think that nobody gets murdered in England where guns are banned? Look it up. Just look it up. I mean, if it was so fantastic, wouldn't everybody do it? I think they would. Maybe. I don't know. Look. What it all really falls down on is how open and transparent everything is. When you have a secret meeting at Jekyll Island, that's where a lot of problems started. Because then you have basically a board, right? When you have the Federal Reserve, you've created a board like a in a company. And you let that board have its input within the government, right? And who has the shares? I don't have the shares. Okay? You have these, I'm just stating facts. I'm going to state a couple facts and I'm going to be done. Right? You can't have discussions in secrecy and think that is a good thing and slide stuff through. You can't force things through if you have people that have actual situations and point of views. You can't just say, well, too bad, we're doing it. You can't condemn one president for something and then say, well, it's okay this time on another one. Either kids in cages are bad, right? Either executive orders that just override anything without support are bad, or they're not. Look, you have to acknowledge that if you want people to just not, be able to go in and you want all those freedoms on voter rights, then you have to relinquish your restrictiveness on firearms, right? It's time for compromise, people. It's time for communication. There's 2 C's. I can probably come up with 25,000 more if you need me to, but I'm not going to do that for real. I'm done. I had to come up here with this political one just to explain to you that you need to be aware of what's going on. Okay? And I'm going to throw one more C at you because it's going to come into the next one, and it's conspiracy. What is going on? Why am I mentioning any of this? What does it all lead to? I tried to implement and show you that this was going to happen at the election. How they were manipulating the media, how they were, the virus and how it was blown up. And I'm going to make a prediction right now. When things are starting to get a little bit better here pretty soon, and I mean, it might not, because it seems to be really kind of backed to where they're ready to let go and release of this, deadly killer COVID that nobody knew anything about. It could be years before we get back on track to anything and ever see a normal, right? Remember that? I don't think it's done. So either something major is going to happen. So if you look at the Reserve Act, right? We're on a teetering point of several different forks in the road. And this is what I honestly believe. I believe that it was orchestrated. I think COVID was orchestrated, and I can show you evidence on that. I believe that the voter thing was manipulated. I can show you evidence on that. And maybe I should not put that on this video because it might get taken down. I don't know. Fuck it. If it does, then I'll just edit it out. But I can show you just as far as like shutting down governments, the riots, the overtaking of certain cities. I mean, this was all put into place. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, have you noticed that it's not happening right now, right? Where is all the mass hysteria? I mean, I'm not talking about the Capitol Hill. I'm talking about like when it was like months and months and they were taking over cities. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about massive destruction within communities, theft, injury, deaths. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to make light of the people that passed away at the Capitol, but I'm just saying, when you put them in a scale, we're talking about a couple of hours and a few people injured. I can't remember how many people, 2 people died, I believe, compared to the whole extent. And I know it's a larger time period, but guess what? That's my point. We're talking about a few hours versus months. I can show you on video where I have protesters. They'll say, man, the riots and protests are not political. Well, I can show you one of the leaders of the protests talking and referring to, call your local Democratic Party. I mean, what was that about? I have videos where I was in attendance of a protest and they started blaring out with a song called Fuck Trump with kids present. And I thought, what is this? Well, why am I here? I'm not here for a political party. And listen, if you are having trouble letting go of stuff, it might be time to take a time out. Because all you're doing is like getting that salt and rubbing it in the wound and just like, yeah, look at that. Look, I mean, dude, you're 12 years old? You must be 12. Sure act like it. and somebody wants to come in to a community and try to talk to people about stuff because they have a point of view and try to maybe learn about stuff, how do you think I get so, how do you think I know so much about all this stuff? Yeah, I do research and stuff. I do on my own. Look at articles and I look outside of the U.S. for information and stuff like that. But how else could I obtain information? I don't put up an offensive or defensive barrier. I let that shit go, and I communicate with several different people, different walks of life, different agendas. I talk candidly and openly. And the number one thing I don't do is I don't be aggressive, and I don't try to enforce my point of view. See, that's the thing about most of the people that I've dealt with, is they have their point of view, and it's not going to move. You're not going to be able to do anything, sorry, until you get that out of your head and you learn how to communicate. And it's really, I mean, I just watched this thing on Piers Morgan where he's just like, and then the other guys just railroading him, not even letting him finish a sentence after he was courteous. Look, I know you're emotional about your beliefs. And I know that you, when you think something, you have a feeling and you're emotional, that you know you're right and you think you're right, and you're going to go all for it. But you have to know that maybe you're not right all the time. I've accepted that I'm not right. I know I'm not right all the time. And if I'm not right all the time, I could be wrong this time. And some of the things that I've said in this video could be wrong. And I'm open to suggestion. I'm open to criticism. I'm open to somebody saying, hey, you know what? Let me tell you this point of view and let me see what you feel about it now. I'm welcoming that. Because maybe there is something that I'm just not getting. But when you're arrogant, flagrant, and looking down the barrel of your nose in an insulting way, like you have magic up your butt when it's only your head, another reference. You do nobody any good. Nothing is benefited. So, it's time. And at the end of the day, you might not like Trump, and if that's your whole thing and he's out of office, it's like, bleh. You really shouldn't have voted. You really shouldn't have. Because the deal is this. It's not what they call a, what in high school. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a popularity contest. It's who can effectively run this country. And you might think that, oh, he was ineffective. Tell me what he did that was ineffective. And I will slice and dice you. Oh, you want to say he didn't, he let that COVID happen. Actually, he didn't. He was observant. And then when they told him about it, 2 days later, he put a travel ban on. You know what happened? The Democrats called him xenophobic and insulted him and said, oh, yeah, well, you can't do that. And then they manipulated what he did in order to secure the borders, right? So if you're going to come at me, I want you to understand something. You come at me with fact and you show it to me. And I want to see the complete thing. I don't want to see a snippet. I don't want to see anything. Because I promise you, this is a challenge. I challenge anybody to show me something that would make me go, man, there's only one thing that I can say that really got me. That was just like, dude. And that was whenever he was basically shut down. And he just kept going on about the thing. I mean, he already had succumbed that he was going to have to move out, and it was just the way that it was. And he just kept on going on about it. I didn't like that. But that has no... I mean, you know, when you watch a playoff game, you know, so the other team's going to be holding their head down. But you can act different ways. I didn't like the way that he did. That was a representation. I was like, dude, man, you're losing people now. But anything else, show me. Show me. Show me how he hurt you. Show me how he was bad for the country. Show me how this and that. I mean, I'm not talking about like, well, this woman accused him. Did he go to prison? Because Biden's been accused. You know what? He's still in office. So please don't come at me with something that your person is doing. Please. Because I can give you stacks on stacks. You will not defeat me in a debate about this. I'm not trying to be modest about it. I've debated several people, and a lot of Democratic people have just said, wow, okay, yeah, let's see that now. And the other ones are just head up the ass. And the reason why is because, you know what? It doesn't matter what party it is. At the end of the day, it's all the same. Truthfully. But, and the only reason why I got involved, and I've said this before, is that, whenever I see hypocrites and people with malice in their hearts, and because, you hate Trump and all this stuff, and I mean, this is a whirlwind, man. This is the collective of all collective videos. Just dropping it down, and I'll give you the whole conspiracy on another one, but we're at a time and a place where we've got to start thinking about our kids and what they're going to do and how we're going to do this. Do you want to end up in a government where they give you relief checks and they give you the selections that you're allowed to, and they may or may not have it in the store? It might be a lot more expensive than what it normally would be. And basically what I'm saying to you is socialism, communism, right? More government controlled than the freedom of you may or may not be making it in life. And that could be a whole other video. I mean, we're at a time when your president is a recluse. And when he does get up on stage, he can't remember people's names. He misquotes facts. I mean, y'all jumped all up on Trump. Oh, that's not true. That's inaccurate. Let's look at the chart. Come on, man. What I'm trying to explain to you is don't be a hypocrite either, because I want you to know something. When you do that, you're number one, you're making yourself look like a fool. The other thing is that you are not going to hold your own personal standard, right, that you seem to have, that you've exhibited, and you're not going to adhere it to somebody else. In parenting, that's called bad parenting. If you have children that you do that with. Just letting you know. You can't have like favorites and stuff when you have kids. You can, but you can't let them know about it, okay? Just kidding. You have certain things out of people that you like and that you don't like, but, it's like saying, Bobby, I really like the way you can play baseball and frisbee, but I don't want you to kill anybody. Your brother, on the other hand, he likes puzzles and throwing darts. For you, I think murder is okay. But I make jokes and stuff like that, but in this time and age, we're more focused on stupid shit than the outcome of fixing the problems. Let me see. We're in a deficit, and it's ticking. And what do you think happens at that point? What do you think's going to happen, man? You heard that term, money growing on trees? Yeah. Well, it does. And it has just about as much value as what blows on trees. Let's get into that conspiracy on another video. I want you to, I'm not going to be around. It's getting, just take what I'm telling you, man. It's important. My battle isn't on earth. I can't change anything. The only thing I could possibly do is try to put some type of influence into your heart or the way you think. And to help you understand that this wall and this anger or this defensiveness or, wondering and questioning of anything is a distraction from people unifying. And when I say unify, I'm not talking about like kumbaya. I'm talking about being decent to each other. There's no way that you can love everybody, but you can treat everybody equally. Mutual respect. And it's just out of a kindness that comes from love and understanding. And if you can grasp that, trust me. I mean, I'm at my end, so it's just, and it's hard. It's not going to get easier. I know what it's like to have the energy to tolerate, to resist it for a long period of time. But that's one of the things that this world is very good about, is taking advantage or trying to, siphon that love and energy, because the world has become a very mucked up place. And the repetitiveness of it and the people not caring about other people, that's the main thing. People just not caring or being thoughtful about other people, disregard. That's why love is getting extinguished. And I'm trying to be strong with this, man, because that's the only thing that's going to come about and make a change is when it happens in your heart. And I'm not saying to lay down and be abused. They're taken advantage of and just be ignorant with it. That's why I say love and understanding. You have to understand. And in order to understand, you've got to listen sometimes. You have to explain sometimes. You can't do something that could be interpreted as derogatory or hateful, but you're doing it out of a loving place, To a child, you ground them because, they didn't fulfill something. They feel hurt. They don't understand that. You explain it to them. You slap their hand really hard. You yank them away from an electric outlet when they're about to stick a fork in it. Because you're scared, it emits off to them and they don't know what's going on. You take the time and you explain to them, look, I know you don't understand, but let me tell you why I did that. But you also have to be able to do that. And you can't do that if you're not coming from a good place. And you can't do that if you can't admit that you're wrong. Like when you cut somebody off, take their parking spot or cut in line. It's hard to do that. But that's why we have to let go of self and let love and understanding take us out from there. Deuces.